Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across this beautiful blue-green globe of ours. Welcome to Real News Live. It is a Toxically Masculine Tuesday, and I am your host, Mike Bara, in Las Vegas, Nevada, formerly joined by Steve Dorr and Terrell Boss. He dropped out somehow. There we are. Welcome to
If I have another problem, I'm going to switch computers.
Okay, all right. So we are here. Great to have you guys here. Plenty to talk about, as they're always in. I've already ordered my tacos from the taco stand, so dinner is on its way. And Blake Wally, you are preparing. By the way, I'm drinking a little Pellegrino tonight, just to keep it light. Blake Wally, you are getting ready for a bunch of snow in Nashville. Is that going to close down the strip club if it snows there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a good spot to go to if we can get the roads plowed. Hopefully there won't be that much snow. I'm not really sure, but we are bracing for impact this weekend, as Dr. Brooks Agnew just informed me, and I have confirmed. So it's heading this way.
Awesome. Also joining me tonight. What are you drinking? Still drinking the Larceny. Okay, trying to finish that bottle. Also joining me tonight in, let's go clockwise around it, Steve Dorr and the Trail Boss in Nowhere Fuckville, Arkansas. Steve, how you doing, and how is the future governor of Arkansas tonight?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. Just preparing for the storm for this weekend, even though for those of us from the Great White North, it's not that big a deal. Here, everything completely closes down. So
good.
You got to be ready for it.
Good. And I can't believe you people are complaining because we were like 3 or 4 minutes late coming on. I mean, come on, seriously? We were talking about some important man shit. Also, joining me tonight, of course, from the Carolinas, where it's also going to be kind of interesting weather-wise this weekend, the smartest man in America, Dr. Brooks Agnew. Brooks, how you doing tonight, and what is rolling out in Carolina?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm on the other side of the Appalachians from Blake, and we're going to get hit pretty hard, 8 to 12 inches here this weekend. Probably the biggest snow we've had in 5 years. So Steve is exactly right. All the eggs, all the milk, all the bread has disappeared for 50 miles in every direction.
And, I can always remind you, ladies, if you want to get hit with 8 to 12 inches, just drop by my place here in Vegas.
Yeah, his brother Dave will be glad to hook you up.
Yeah. Okay, let's start get into the news. We were just talking about this. This is why we were late, ladies, because we were talking. We were mansplaining to each other about some important shit. Okay, so just don't complain about it. It's above your pay grade, ladies, but we are going to talk about this anyway. Brooks, you just brought this up. The Mexican consulates, there are some 50 Mexican consulates in the United States. They're running a shadow campaign to bend American elections in favor of Mexican interests. Peter Schweitzer writes in his new book, The Invisible Coup, which I believe President Trump has cited recently. The Mexican government is blatantly interfering in our domestic politics, working with American political advisors to turn legal and illegal migrants inside the U.S. into a political force to wield to their benefit. Perhaps most consequential are the mass protests that Mexico's consulates helped stage in the U.S. designed to combat anti-immigration policies. So are we, Brooks, here, are we looking at an issue that, I mean, is it, we all know it's Soros and people like that, but are the Mexicans behind some of this shit? And what do they hope to gain by this?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. I mean, the Mexican president, Scheinbaum, the number 2 source of cash for Mexico is remittances from Mexicans inside this country. So they make a lot of money off the oil, off Pemex, but they make almost that much money off the cash that Mexicans send back to Mexico. It's a big, big bottom line thing for them. Well, since Trump has been president, we have deported 800,000 Democrat voters, registered Democrat voters. Now, they weren't citizens, but they were registered Democrat voters. That's an enormous impact in the Democrat electorate. And it could have a serious impact on the amount of money that's being sent back to Mexico. So Mexico, at least Claudia Scheinbaum has directed all 50 Mexican consulates in the United States to coordinate these violent riots that you're seeing in actually 150 cities across the country.
Yeah, that was the point I was going to make. Is they're also not sending money back to Mexico if they're not here making American money and sending it back to Mexico, which is a problem. Steve Doran, this is easy. I'm the president. I say, oh, gee, that's really too bad. You call for that. Now we're going to send in our troops to surround your consulates because there's rules of diplomacy. The rules are that you don't try to overthrow our government and we're polite to you. They broke those fucking rules. If they've openly come out and said this, and if it's been included and there's evidence, I say we just tell the Mexicans, all of your consulates are now closed until we're done deporting all the fucking Mexicans we don't want in our country anymore, which is going to be about 17 million more of them. That's what I do. I just say your consulates are closed until there's a new president. Get the fuck out of our country. Why the fuck don't we just do that?
We've done it in the past.
There's going to be a lot of why the fuck don't we just do that tonight? I want to warn everybody. Go ahead, Steve.
No, I just said we've done it in the past. It's nothing new. Where we've had trouble with another country and we close down their embassies and consulates and send them packing. So it would not be something that would be out of the ordinary for us to do again, except for the fact that there are enough politicians being paid off by the Mexican government that they're going to defend them hammer and tong to keep them here. But again, it's nothing that hasn't been done in the past. It's nothing that couldn't be done literally with a stroke of a pen.
Then I wonder why it is TV's Blake Wally. Why don't we do that, Blake? What's the deal?
I guess there's too much money to be had there. And it seems like, it's an alarming trend. And it seems like Arizona has been heavily influenced by perhaps the cartels, or at least that was rumored to be a thing. But it's also, I guess, it reminds me of another story I heard from out of the Chinese with the birthright citizenship. Apparently, it was like 100,000 new people every year that are going to be like eligible to vote when they're 18, even though they were born here, but they live in China, they go to school there. But they'll be allowed to vote come these elections as soon as they hit of age because of this loophole. So it just seems like there's foreign influence in our elections as usual. They're trying to find some sort of advantage so that they can control America. So they're going to have to get the money out of politics, and they're going to have to raise some sort of voting standards where they just can't let everybody one person, one vote. You're going to have to qualify at some point, I would think.
Yeah, but
they need to be present in this. They need to be present in this country to vote. Not they shouldn't allow them to vote absentee ballot from another country.
Well, how do we even know if you're a resident?
Like members of the military. I mean, not that their vote counts, because when I was in the service, we voted absentee ballot, and they didn't even mail them in.
Right. Oh yeah, and they did that, and there's also massive issues. I think in Arizona was primarily one of them where they found a couple of 100,000 military ballots that were all for Joe Biden, which is there's zero chance of that happening. In fact, it would have to be 90% Trump. Yep. So the fraud is just off scale.
That's been going on since I was in the service. I remember, we all voted. They took, we turned in our ballots, blah, blah, blah. After the election was over, they were just literally in trash bags and boxes, just laying in this big old room, and they were never counted, never sent.
Wow. The Mexican president, released a song with lyrics, "We are more American than the gringo. We're taking back what is ours." I got news for you dumb fucking Mexicans, okay? You sold us the Southwest of the United States. We bought it. We didn't conquer it. You gave it to us fair and square, okay? We bought it. You didn't. It's ours. Fuck you. Okay, in other news, In Iran, there's been a blackout in Iran, basically. What we're looking at now is these are scenes allegedly from a few hours ago. Right? There are still protests going on in Iran. There's other videos of absolute terror going on. People are being shot and massacred by the mullahs. And there's even one video of an Iranian Muslim piece of shit killing somebody with an axe. Like they're even chopping them up. And we sit in our fucking hands and we aren't doing a fucking thing about it. So I would like to ask President Trump, why the fuck are we not helping these people? They are ready to overthrow these terrorists. They are ready to burn every mosque in Iran. And Steve, we sit here and we do absolutely nothing. Not even a goddamn airstrike. It sounds like Israel called off our airstrike somehow, according to some reports. What the fuck is going on? And why aren't we helping the Persian people free their country from these fucking animals?
Because it's all about the money. It's, you know, it's not the Muslims in Iraq that have all the power. It's the Muslims that control all the oil that have the power, OPEC nations. And so those nations go to the United States and say, hey, you screw with our Muslim brothers and we're going to cut you off, or we're going to raise prices, or whatever the case may be. And so the United States backs off. And secondly, you know, I'm so sick of hearing this Israel bullshit. I could just freaking vomit. Israel is not responsible. It's almost like every time there's a new discovery of something man-made and the aliens made it. Now today, every time something happens, the Israelis are behind it. It's all bullshit. It's bullshit. They're not behind everything. There are greater evils at work here than the little country of Israel. It's about crooked, corrupt politicians who are lining their pockets with not only the money of the American people, but with the bribes they're taking from these Islamic nations, to include, by the way, Carlson. And, you know, where has he spoke out about any of this? Where has Candace spoke out about any of this? You know, all these people on the freaking Muslim payroll, you know, are saying nothing. They're doing nothing. So, you know, Israel has no control over that. This is totally corrupt politicians who are lining their pockets with bribe money and the money of the American people.
Blake, would you like to respond to that? And keep in mind that Steve cannot actually hurt you over this broadcast. He has to come there and hurt you.
Right. No, I'm not really sure if I follow that entirely. Some of those things that they're throwing at Tucker, is there any proof that they're actually on a payroll? Because they get accused of being, you know, Jew haters on the payroll of Qatar. That's coming from Mark Levin, Laura Loomer, and Ted Cruz, who don't really have credibility.
Because why aren't they speaking out against what's going on in the Middle East? Why are they keeping their mouths shut and talking about stupid shit instead of what's going on in the Middle East and encouraging people to help the Iranians? Why aren't they doing any of that? No, they're sitting there talking about, oh, we took over Venezuela because we want them to be able to have gay marriage. I mean, what kind of bullshit is that?
Yeah, that's insanity.
That was a weird take from Tucker Carlson, but I don't think Tucker or Candace cover daily issues. Right. So they just do interviews now, and Candace has been on this whole Charlie Kirk murder saga. So I don't know if
I hope that these people, you know, I spent a lot of time fighting in the Middle East. I hope people like Carlson, I hope people like Candace have to face these Muslims one day and have to go through the hell and the torture that those people go through. And I hope that they get a taste of their own goddamn medicine.
I will tell you, I do think Islam is a far greater threat to the world than the Jews are, but that's just me. I you know, I mean, I just don't, I don't know, but I have to say there's something wrong here, Brooks. Why are we not helping these people? As I said a week ago, 2 weeks ago, we could be dropping crates of machine guns and rifles and pistols, and this would be over by now. The mullahs would be being skinned alive in 1-inch strips, hanging from meat hooks, if we had helped these people 2 weeks ago. And we're not doing a goddamn thing. Why aren't we doing anything? And why are we letting them the Persian people be massacred like this?
Well, we're not doing anything. We have a lot of equipment that's heading that way. There are drones all over that area. There's naval vessels almost there. you have to understand, you got to have an end game. When you go in with the military, you got to have a way to get in and you got to have a way to get out. You can't just go in and fight the IRGC. That's just not going to, it's not practical. The Persian people are well on their way to evicting the mullahs. That's not the issue. The issue is now is the IRGC. They've now killed upwards of 20,000 civilians, 20,000 rioters, or not rioters, but demonstrators. Of course, they're burning down mosques and they're in the streets to stay. Now, I agree about dropping weapons in. We've done that in the past with the Contras, with the Sandinistas. We've done that in the past with even in World War II. But I think this is going to be a better move. Trump tomorrow is going to be at Davos. He's going to read the riot act to these people. The Arab nations are going to turn against Iran, and that's exactly what we need to have happen in that area. You can't just drop American troops in that area and start shooting the IRGC.
I'm not proposing that. I'm proposing that we start arming the Persian people to take their own country back, which we should have done weeks ago. And we could have. A week ago, we were poised to strike military targets and government facilities, and we could do that from the air. We wouldn't lose a single guy unless, engine flew into a flock of birds, plane flew into a flock of birds or something. So we wouldn't lose anybody. So why are we not doing any of this shit? I don't get it. We've allowed them. Brooks, this is the second or third time now. These people have risen up and we tell them to rise up and we trot out Pahlavi and then we don't do a fucking thing. Why aren't we doing anything? You guys Steve is the only one who's answered the question. Is that because we're getting paid off not to? So is that true or not? Is Donald Trump taking money from somebody or some business deal he wants to do with some other Arab government to back off and let these people die? Because I don't understand it from a policy standpoint. Am I crazy for?
No, I'm with you, and I think Trump's with you too. And it's unfortunate that these people have died. It wasn't preventable. I can just tell you that it just wasn't preventable. You had an unarmed populace going up against an armed government who believes that the people are their enemy. They hate women. They're all the Muslim Brotherhood are a bunch of faggots. They're afraid of women. They don't like women. They think women are only to be raped and beaten. You don't have a relationship with a woman because you're gay. All the Muslim Brotherhood is gay, seriously gay. And right now they're trying to escape with their money and a harem of 10-year-old boys. And I think they should all burn in hell.
Okay. Let's get out of this one because I'm hot about this and a few other things. Blake, I don't get why we're not doing anything. What do we do? Okay, let's put it this way. In the next 2 weeks, does the United States finally do something? Do we either start arming those people to fight their own government, or do we conduct some sort of airstrikes against them? Do we do anything in the next 2 weeks, Blake? Yes or no?
I don't think so. The part I disagree with is that it's just in their backyard. That's China, Russia, Saudi Arabia. They should be taking point on this one. And we've already meddled around in Iran with overthrow of Mossadegh in 53 and Jimmy Carter 79, all this stuff. So I just think that we try to destabilize these regions or put somebody else in power, and it ends up backfiring. If it's Iraq or Libya, and
I agree. I agree with you. You say that, but culturally, these people are Caucasian. Iran literally means, as Brooks has pointed out, Aryan. They're white and they're Christian, and they're being tortured for 50 years by these fucking Arab Muslims, and they don't even belong in that country. So I disagree with you in the sense that, yes, it's far away. It's not in the Western Hemisphere. It's not in our backyard, but these are our people, and I don't get why we aren't helping them, because I think this is a situation. The Islamic regime there is like a piece of cigarette ash. You flick it like that, and it's going to turn to powder. And we're just not willing to do that. Steve, in the next 2 weeks, do you see the United States doing anything from a logistical support, and that means guns, or military to do anything?
They might launch a few missiles here and there, and that's about it.
And
that's all I see happening. I mean, the reality is we are militarily, we are the strongest nation in the world. we don't have to put up with the Muslim bullshit anywhere in the world, right?
No.
We could have overthrown them and totally taken them out years and years and years ago. And we continue to put up with their bullshit and their nonsense on a constant basis. And it's because of the money flowing in here. Because otherwise, back when OPEC started, we could have stopped that within a week of them getting together. But no, basically the politicians had their hands out, put money into their pockets. It made them millionaires, some of them billionaires. And so they don't care about the American people. They don't care
OPEC and the petrodollar is the best thing that ever happened to the deep state. OPEC and the petrodollar is the best thing that ever happened to the corrupt Rothschild deep state, Rockefeller deep state. You're right about that. Okay, so Brooks, let's give a yes or no. In the next 2 weeks, does the United States go in and help Iran, or do we leave them to twist on the vine and does this whole thing just evaporate again?
I think in the next week, 10 days to 2 weeks, we do go in, we do attack the IRGC, we isolate them, cut them off from movements, we call it a no-fly zone, nobody gets in the air. There's going to be some serious shit happen in the next 2 weeks. The hardware is almost there. It's lacks, I think, 1 or 2 days of having everything there.
So you think I'm being impatient and I don't know the situation on the ground? Is that how?
No, I think you have a good finger on the pulse. You feel something should happen, and it is going to happen.
All right. Okay. All right. So much for that issue. Today is January 20th, 2025. And Stephen Miller posted this today. He said 1 year ago today, after 10 years of persecution, 2 near assassinations, and the unrelenting wrath of the corrupt political class, an earthquake shook the depraved establishment to its core. President Trump achieved history's greatest and most astounding political victory. America is saved, providence fulfilled. In these last 12 months in rapid succession, it's been, let me read it a little bit more clearly, the reversal of decline, one after another, one colossal win for America after another, record border security, record deportation, record crime reduction, record inflation reduction, record tax reduction, record native job growth, record investment, record slashing of the trade deficit. That's true. Record deregulation. Don't know about that. Record energy production, dismantlement of DEI, trans insanity and woke supremacy, dethroning the deep state and tyranny of bureaucracy, the revitalization of our national patriotism and glory in this, our 250th year, the resurrection of American culture, including the designation of English as the official language of the United States, the reassertion of American sovereignty, hegemony, strength in Western civilization, the reawakening of the Monroe Doctrine and the implementation of the Trump Doctrine, ending 8 wars, restoring the unrivaled might and lethal dominance of the American armed forces, Steve Doran, and using that force to secure our interests and our borders and to crush the cartels and foreign enemies of the United States. What is good in life? To crush my enemies, see them driven before me, and hear the lamentations of their women. I would have put that in there, Steve. And the thrilling dawn of the new American age of superiority in space, technology, medicine, automation, computing, manufacturing, and the grand industries of the future as we once again reach the limits of our infinite destiny. This is the golden age of America. Well, that sounds pretty good, pretty peachy, pretty keen. Why then are we all so frustrated? Why are we so frustrated with the way things are going? And why are people like Glenn Beck saying this? Because this stuff is really important here too. I said I would give Pam Bondi a year to prove herself as Attorney General, who would dismantle the deep state, let Americans see the truth, and finally bring to justice the criminal elites who have been too big to jail. Today, that year is up, and I haven't seen evidence that she's done any of that. Bondi's handling of the Epstein case was one of the worst fumbles I've ever seen, but we all remember that. What about the lack of prosecution against anyone who tried to weaponize the justice system against political opponents like Trump, or the failure to prosecute the perpetrators of the Russiagate hoax like Clapper and Comey? That's not weaponization. We've had evidence for years that they lied and colluded with the press. Where are the prosecutions related to the Mar-a-Lago raid? We keep finding out that it was even worse than we were told, but nothing has happened yet. Can we get an update on any George Soros investigations? Why is it taking so long to go after him? Or how about investigating the Clintons for non-Epstein related scandals? Gazprom, Uranium One, Benghazi, Hillary's email server, blah, blah, blah. How about the failure to drain the swamp of deep state actors working against the American people, or the proven lies of the Capitol Police on January 6th, or the FBI lies about the number of agents of the crowd, or investigations into possible 2020 election fraud, or follow up on Doge's fraud finding. Sure, the DOJ is looking into the Somali fraudsters, but what about everyone in the bank, state government, and federal offices that had to have known about the fraud? What about Biden's autopin scandal? Who signed off on everything if it wasn't Biden? And the Biden administration was full of government weaponization, worth prosecuting, the COVID lockdowns and vaccine mandates, the unjust FACE Act arrests, everything from the Twitter files exposed. Where is a single arrest? And speaking of COVID, what about investigations into America's role in creating the virus and covering up its true origins? Dare I mention Fauci? There is too much there to cover on the video. So gentlemen, I tend to agree with all this. So we'll start with you, Brooks. Are we in the beautiful shape that Stephen Miller says, or are we fucked the way Glenn Beck says at this hour?
Well,
1 year their second term.
I think it's just like Glenn Beck says. All we've done is bark, 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 bark for a year, literally 365 days. No bite at all. No one's gone to jail. It's gotten so bad that President Trump has caused an assistant attorney general to be appointed over the fraud, because Pam Bondi's not doing anything. And I predict that he will appoint one or even two more assistant attorney generals and point them in specific directions, like election infrastructure and maybe some of this Jeffrey Epstein stuff. I don't really know. But Pam Bondi has done nothing. She's just like Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions came in. We thought he was going to be a bulldog. He turned out to be a manicured poodle. And the same thing with Trey Gowdy, same thing with all these guys, even Stephen Miller. He's great. He says a lot of great stuff as a national security advisor. No teeth. No teeth, Stephen. Get some fucking teeth.
Absolutely. TV's Blake Wally, are we entering the golden age the way Stephen Miller says, or are we just being fooled again by the do-nothing Trump administration? What say you?
I guess in the middle, yeah, there's some positives to take away from this. And of course, I'm very thankful that it's, still Trump and not Kamala. However, we're in big trouble if things aren't done. We need a lot more before these midterms, or we are in danger of losing everything. So everything that Steve Miller is saying, all these great things are going to be taken away in one day when the Democrats take power and sign all these executive orders like they did when Biden was first there in 2020. So that's what I would be very worried about. They've got to hold some powerful people accountable. And he's absolutely right. We look so ridiculous with that Epstein fumble and some of the other things. There's so many major scandals out there. And if they don't do something by the midterms, then it's just going to look, makes, again, the Republicans, they've been looking weak for years, but just makes that narrative that they are weak and they won't do anything. And it makes it look like the Democrats were actually innocent all along, because as Brooks is saying, just barking, but nothing's there. So they need to slam the door and show the people the fraud, and everybody's going to see it. And then finally, maybe the Democrats will get the message.
Steve, I saved you for last on this one because I know what you're going to say, but just go ahead and say it. That's what we're here for.
I mean, the Republicans have always been weak for the last 20 years. They've been the weakest party, the weakest political party in the nation. They always say, oh, if we just get control of the House, if we just get control of the Senate, if we just get the presidency, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And they never do a damn thing. They sit on their hands. They don't do anything. The thing that, as much as I dislike the Democrats, I give them credit, because at least when they get power, they go in and they do something. But the Republicans, they just, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It's all smoke and mirrors. They do nothing. And you want to know why? Because they are the lapdogs of the Democratic Party, and they know that if they start getting too bristled up, start making too much noise, they too will be exposed for their crimes and corruptions against the American people. And so they just shut their mouth and sit back, just like these Republicans who voted for the Build Back Better bill so they could get their $250 million for personal security and, another big payoff. And yet now they're running for re-election like, I'm a protector of the Constitution after siding with the Democrats. It's just ridiculous.
Okay, Steve, I get it. I'm with you. But what's your solution? we know the Republicans aren't going to do anything. They're trying to just run the clock out. We're in year one. They're just trying to stall everything for 4 years and have everything go back to the same corrupt system that the American people did not vote for. And Trump doesn't seem to have the balls to actually confront them. So what's your solution?
The only thing we can do is get rid of them, replace them.
How?
Well, I mean, we got to, whoever's running against them. That's who
I'll tell you. No, I'll tell you how. No, you cannot vote. You cannot vote your way out of communism. And communism has infected the Republican Party as surely as it has infected the Democrat Party. I'm going to tell you, and you're going to object to it, the only way out of this is to bring in the military and arrest these people and put them on military tribunals and hang them all. That's in public, or go French Revolution on it. That's the only way you're going to fix this. But you also don't want that.
Are you going to lead the French Revolution? Are you going to be the guy running down the mall streets, rallying everybody?
I will. I'll hold the heads up after they're chopped. Here's Mitt Romney, and
I mean, it all sounds good in theory, but you have to make it happen. And the only way that's going to happen is if the American people are so freaking miserable, so misused, so abused. People don't change unless the pain is great enough for them to change. So it hasn't. We live in a pretty good society. Everybody has, most everybody has enough money to pay their bills. They're comfortable. And as long as they have that, they're not going to do anything. It's when their shoes start to pinch, when things start. I mean, you would think that just the fact that these school systems are pushing, gender mutilation, gender reassignment surgery and stuff, that people would revolt and rip the schools apart brick by brick. They don't do it. They keep electing the same school board members who put the crap in there to begin with.
Yeah, because they don't have time, or they don't want to.
They don't want to give up their comfort. They don't want to leave their comfort zone.
Yeah. Well, are they, they're just exhausted at the end of the day trying to survive and just make enough money to pay the mortgage every month.
Well, I mean, you got to take a stand sometime. It's like when I was going through all the stuff that I was going through, people were like shaking my hand. Oh, I wish I could be more like you. I wish this, I wish that. When you stand up for what's right, it hurts. You're going to get hurt. They're going to come after you. They're going to do everything in their power to stop you. And regardless of what they have to do that, and you got to be committed to doing that. So I see all these guys with guns and their freaking little tattoos and, their beard and, they're a badass. They're nothing. They are cowards. They do nothing except posture. So, you want to impress me? Let me see you actually do something. Let me see you actually get out there and do something. Quit, hiding behind your stupid photograph online. Quit hiding behind your little posts online and get out there and do something. Otherwise, nothing's going to change. And then when everything goes to hell and they come and get you, you'll be the first one crying like a little bitch, giving up giving up every right you have because all you are is a poser.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm just going to come back at you. I think the only way out of this is Insurrection Act, martial law, military on the streets, arrest all of the government people and get rid of them. And that's the only way that we get out of this. And
every single day that illegal Omar walks the face of the earth as the Congresswoman from Somalia proves you right.
All right, let's move on. There were some interesting things that did happen this week. There were subpoenas issued speaking of Minnesota, Somali fraud cases in Minnesota. Let's see what CNN has to say.
Familiar tells me that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and the Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey are both being investigated by the Justice Department. Ooh. And a grand jury has issued subpoenas for both of them, though it doesn't appear that either have been served yet. What we do know tonight as we come on the air is that the Justice Department investigation centers on possible obstruction of federal law enforcement. Both the FBI Director Kash Patel and the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche were in Minneapolis today. And just a short time ago, Todd Blanche was on Fox News attempting to explain why the Justice Department is taking this action.
When the governor or the mayor threaten our officers, when the mayor suggests that he's encouraging encouraging citizens to call 911 when they see ICE officers. That is very close to a federal crime.
Person familiar tells me that Minnesota
Okay, a couple things about this. First of all, that reporter, I don't know who the fuck what her name is, but it's a dude pretending to be a woman, first of all. Secondly, Steve is, let's start with, sorry, let's go to Blake first. Blake, you think anything's going to happen? Oh, there's an investigation. They're going to subpoena them. You think anything's going to happen with this, or are the Democrats going to get away with it scot-free once again?
I hope this is finally ground zero and something's going to get done. And you've already had Kash Patel and now you've Kristi Noem have been in there waiting for Trump to call for the Insurrection Act. And now Frey and Walz are trying to tone it down after they've been heating things up and calling for people to basically target, even trying to get like his own police force to be combative with ICE. So they don't want people coming in, outsiders looking at all the fraud they're involved in, because they know they're going to get arrested. So they're desperately pulling this stuff out, but they don't know what to do. They're like cornered rats. I'm enjoying it, and hopefully they have to do something now, or forget about California, New York, Illinois, all of the other stuff. So this is where they can really score and show the country what the Democrats are up to, all the Doge stuff, and it has to happen, or we can kiss 2026 goodbye.
Well, I'm not so worried about 2026. I think Democrats are polling at 20%. I don't think they're going to win anything, but it's when the presidency flips over again, and I mean, should I say this? I ran into a guy named 107 this weekend at the Trump Hotel, and we had a nice little chat, and it didn't last very long, but I am concerned that we are going to follow the rules. And if we follow the rules, then the Democrats are going to steal the election again in 2027 or 2028, 2026, and have everything back in 2028, and the country is lost. And I don't see how we can survive if we don't do something that's not within the rules. And at least prosecuting these motherfuckers would be within the rules. Brooks, do you think anything happens with this Waltz stuff?
Yeah, I do. I think there are a couple things. First of all, have it on good authority, Eric Trump, that upwards of 800,000 registered Democrats have been deported.
Wow.
That's a serious hurt on the Democrat Party. The other thing is, in Minneapolis, there have been over 3,000 federal investigators in the city. Now, they didn't start out arresting people. I mean, they got the worst of the worst. They started out documenting everything. They went to all the riots and they took pictures. They scanned cell phones. They did background checks. They have all these arrests ready to go. And guess what happened this weekend? Almost nobody showed up for the riots. One of them, about 12 people showed up. All those thousands of people, they disappeared because they know there's a file being built on them and they're all about to be arrested. Now, Trump talked about 10,000 arrests today. I think that's going to be upwards of 30,000 by the end of the week. They're going to move swiftly, and they're going to take these people and they're going to take them off the streets. So the Democrats are losing money. They're losing voters. And this is how we're going to beat them in 2026. And then, of course, the biggest victory was shutting down the election infrastructure fraud in Venezuela.
Which
That's
we're going
how we
to talk
beat the
about.
Democrats.
Yeah, that is coming, and Trump did talk about that today. What were we talking about here? Steve, do you think anything happens with this Minnesota fraud stuff, or are you going to be cynical, Steve?
I'm just going to be, time will tell. We've had these conversations since the beginning of the Trump administration. Oh, this is going to happen. Oh, that's going to happen. Oh, you wait and see. Arrests are coming. This is going to happen. Butt kiss. So until I start seeing people put in the slam, I'm not buying into it.
Yeah, I'm not. I know. I'm not going to let myself get all turned on just to have the girl say, "It's my time of the month. Can't do it, buddy." So it's not. That's the Trump administration for the last 6 years. All right.
We want
Speaking
Kristi
of that,
Noem. We want Kristi Noem to be a Pisces. Come on.
I wasn't talking about Kristi Noem, but I guess I got temporarily.
The reality is as a chief of police or as a federal official, supervisor, if you can't get the prosecutor to prosecute your cases, you're not going to make any arrests because you can only arrest them one time. So if you know that you're going to take them in and the prosecutor's going to let them go, or they're going to assign somebody, an intern basically, to run the cases, you're not going to arrest them because later on down the road, if you get somebody decent, you want to be able to come in, bring them before the court, get them indicted.
And yet another argument to simply do this with martial law and the military tribunals. Yet another argument, Stephen. All right. Speaking of that, 2026 momentum. Donald Trump attended the. Steve's mocking me now. You can't mock the host. Oh yeah, you can if you're Steve Doran because you can beat me.
Yeah, I can.
All right. So Donald Trump attended the college football championship last night, and it was a very interesting reaction because if you're on Twitter X and you listen to the Democrats and you look at all the opposition, the American people hate Donald Trump and his approval rating is in the toilet. Okay. All right. Fine. Yeah. They showed him on TV. Crazy. Ooh, there's a monkey. All right, so Trump was loudly cheered. And then there's another cultural thing I want to share, too. I want to share this one, which is that we've been hearing for months that J.D. Vance was having an affair with Eric Kirk. And he and his wife were on the rocks and in trouble. Turns out that's not true. Guess what? He's been panging it to his wife. She's pregnant, fourth kid on the way. What does this say about our news coverage and our culture, guys? I mean, we're seriously being lied to about everything. It seems like the Vances are relatively happy if they're having another kid. Do you think any of these things, Blake, mean anything significant about how Trump is really seen in the eyes of the American people versus the news media?
No, it's just they're a bunch of left-wing activists masquerading as journalists, and it's embarrassing that they cover this stuff and to make all these personal attacks. Like, go after him for his policy, but they can't. And he's a well-spoken, smart guy, and they can't stand him. So they just try to find anything, any little rumor or whatever, try to undermine the administration in however little petty way that they can. But it's backfired again. So it's always nice to see.
Kind of hard to argue, Brooks. Kind of hard to argue that the Vances are on the rocks and JD's having an affair with Erica Kirk when he just knocked his wife up, isn't it?
Yeah, this is how low the Democrats get. I mean, this comes from a party that carves up their kids and brags about it, and the best looking, smartest, fastest women are all men in the Democrat Party.
Speaking of that, I know Steve Doran doesn't watch football, but have you ever watched NBC's Sunday Night Football coverage? There's 3 NFL football players there. There's Jason Garrett, there's Jason McCourty, and one other guy I forget, and they're all NFL football players. And they have this black chick there. I forget her name. I gotta go look her up. And she towers over them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, she got pregnant. She just had a kid. I mean, oh my God, she's gigantic. She's a dude. She's bigger than the NFL football players. It's bizarre." And that's their culture. That's their thing. Steve, you got any comments on any of this? And
I mean, we've been living in a psyop for the last 20 years. You look at the news media coverage across the nation. Not only they are saying the exact same thing. They're not just reporting a similar story. Their teleprompters, the words that they're using are exactly the same across the nation. They've been doing that for the last 20 years. They bring something up. It's like if you tell a lie long enough, people tend to believe it's true. And then instead of people being truth seekers and believing the truth, they'll believe the lie. And then you have to convince them that it's a lie and show them what the truth is. And they still don't want to believe it because people operate on drama, especially in today's day and age. I mean,
Google doesn't make it any easier. because
Right.
Google
In
plays the
today's
lie
day,
as well.
we don't have men that are men. We have 4 toxically masculine men here, but for the most part, men are fucking pussies, and I'm cursing again. They're pussies. They don't stand up for what they believe in. They're not the head of their households. It's like they let everything go by as long as nothing affects them, and they can just lay back and
Ride the car they
not
want.
have any trouble or any problems. They just go with the flow, and our society is making them worse and worse and worse. Year after year after year, they get weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. And that's exactly what this is supposed to do. That's why you have all these women. I'm woman, hear me roar. Yet, women are these badasses. They put them in ninja movies and fighting and all this kind of stuff. I just watched a video today where they had 4 champion women weightlifters, and they got the shit kicked out of them by 4 midgets.
Midgets.
Even male midgets are tougher than women are. They're built differently. This is not an anti-woman statement. Women are built differently. They're here to perform different functions.
That's right. God made them as
feminizing. They feminize everything.
Yep.
And they keep feminizing our kids at school. They feminize, we're toxically masculine because we stand up for ourselves and we tell the truth. So we're toxically masculine. We're abusive. We do this, we do that, just because.
We're misogynist because we
and the reality is, we are the best providers. We work the hardest. We take care of our families better than anybody.
We lead, and that's what a man is supposed to do. Okay, so I want to share this thing. This is this Maria Taylor. She's the hostess. Okay, let me go right to left here on this. The guy on the right is Chris, former quarterback. What's his name? Chris Sims. Chris Sims, former third-round pick of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like 6'3" tall, right? The guy next to him is Rodney Harrison, who is going to go to the Hall of Fame. He was a safety for the Patriots and the Chargers. He's about 6'1", 6'2". Jason Garrett is a former quarterback and NFL coach. He's 6'2" or 6'3". And next to him is Tony Dungy, Hall of Fame NFL coach. I don't think he should be in the Hall of Fame, but he was a player and a coach. And Maria Taylor is taller than any of them. And they're trying to convince you this is a girl. It's not. It's a freaking dude pretending to be a girl. And Blake, are they just gaslighting us with this shit? I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand how anybody can look at this and think that that is a woman. Am I wrong for thinking that?
That could be. Who knows? And we've seen Big Mike, Michelle Obama. Something is very off there. I don't know. Yeah, they're always trying to force some weird thing into these groups. Like she doesn't really necessarily belong there. One of these things is not like the others. And
it's some weird satanic cult thing or something. What is it? I don't. Is that what it is?
It could be. I guess I'm in the Fox bubble with that crew, so I wasn't as familiar with this one. But that is very disturbing. That's probably why I don't watch that crew.
She's just big boned. Right. Yeah, she's just big boned. She's just big boned. But to me, it's a broader cultural thing that they're trying to pretend like this is not a dude. It's a dude. All right, let's move on to the next subject.
That's what I tell you all the time. Football is gay. You look at football when I was growing up in the 70s, and you had guys that come out. All of the team players would wear suits and ties. They acted like gentlemen. They behaved like gentlemen. They came out. They were role models for people to look up to. They were tough on the field. They were, like I said,
they were out drinking the night before the game. They were tough.
But when they weren't on the field, they were appreciative of their fans. They were gentlemen to everybody that they came in contact. Now you got all these guys with the long hair. You watch any kind of football game, they got all the faggot commercials that come on with about homosexuality. You got crap like this going on. It's debaucherous nonsense.
Yeah, and it is. All right, Donald Trump held a press briefing today. He at the White House. He did talk to reporters about a number of things. He is marching into Davos tomorrow, where the World Economic Forum. I wouldn't go personally. I would not go if I were him, because I do not put it past them to try to murder him. And I'm not kidding. Don't put it past them. These people know that, as far as they're concerned, he's the Prince of Darkness. But Donald Trump laid out some stuff today in his press conference, which is pretty interesting, and it may be referring to what's going on in Venezuela. Let's listen to the Donster.
I don't know how they can take the abuse. They're taking rough people like this, like all of them. We have 10,000 at least. I could have done 10,000 of them. You're lucky I only did like 100. And this isn't even the worst of the group. They have murderers. They have some people we can't use their picture for legal reasons, but they're up for murder in their own country. And we jeopardize their case. When we send them back and we coordinate with other countries. A tremendous amount of work. All allowed in here by an open border policy of the worst president in the history of our country. A man that didn't win the election, by the way. It's a rigged election. Everybody knows that now. And by the way, numbers are coming out that show it even more plainly. We caught him. We caught him. So I just want you to know that it's a terrible thing. Here's the book on accomplishments. And this is something, I'm glad my finger wasn't in that sucker. That could have done some damage, but you know what? I wouldn't have shown the pain. I would have gone back. Boy, did you hear that? That was nasty. But I would not have shown the pain. I would have acted like nothing happened as my finger fell off. That was nasty. I think somebody did that. It was him. It was my man. How were you? You didn't do it. I know you did. I know you didn't. So, but here's the book. These are all things we have. I'm going to read a few of the samples, but look at this. These are all, each line is something that we did.
He just throws it away.
Before. And it's big stuff too. Look, we have the hottest country in the world.
And then he went on to answer some questions from reporters, and that's where things got even more interesting.
Mr. President, you've been hearing from allies.
Thank you. Thank you so much, President Trump. Kara Castanova from Lindell TV. And you spoke earlier about the 2020 election. Now that Maduro is in U.S. custody and he was criminally charged, has any more information emerged that you could share with us regarding Venezuelan election software and Venezuelan ties to tampering with the 2020 election? And would you consider speaking to Maduro personally in prison in New York to get some answers on Venezuela's involvement with the 2020 election?
No, I don't think I would be doing that. I think my lawyers would be very unhappy if I did. Yeah, they've learned some things. Please.
What happens to the tariff threat to Greenland if the Supreme Court comes out and rules against you on the tariffs? And
okay, so speaking of that, then we move on to the next thing, which is that basically a bunch of European countries have said, we're not going to let Donald Trump take Greenland, as if Greenland is part of Europe. It's part of North America. And they sent in troops. I actually have some footage of the French troops arriving in Greenland. Here they are.
Reporting live. French troops have arrived in Greenland and are disembarking with hands locked behind their heads. Officials say this is the unit standard readiness posture, ready to surrender when the time comes.
So that's good. That's good. And then that sounds funny, but then it really did. This really did happen. Let me find the right tab. This really did happen. The Germans, remember when the Germans used to be tough? The Germans also sent in some troops. Well, this week they blitzkrieged Greenland for like 24 hours. There they are arriving, and there they are leaving on the same freaking plane. The Germans sent like 12 dudes. They sent like 12 dudes, different plane. They sent like 12 dudes, and then what happened is President Trump turned around and basically said, when all I said they sent like 20 people total from these different countries. And Trump said, okay, fine. Guess what? I'm going to impose tariffs on every single one of your countries that sends anybody to Greenland. And all of a sudden, they all got up and packed up and left. Don't tell me tariffs are not effective, Brooks. Any thoughts on the?
I thought it was beautiful, and it's funny because I know this is a Babylon Bee piece, but the spirit of it is good. They're asking for money from the United States to beef up NATO so they can protect Greenland against the United
from the
States.
United States.
Yeah. So, and the big lie that's out there all over the press is that the Prime Minister of Greenland and the people of Greenland don't want to have anything to do with the Americans. They want to stay with the Danes. And that is absolutely false. About 95% of Greenlanders want the United States in there, and they are sick and tired of being the bitch for the Danes. They're sick and tired of it. They want their independence.
It looks like there is going to be a formal offer this week to the people of Greenland, and I actually, I was going to check. I actually have I thought I had a photo somewhere. Maybe not of.
Well, there was another lie that was published in the media, and the Anons caught it. They said that there was a big anti-America protest in Greenland, biggest protest the country has ever seen in its history. It was a lie.
Yeah.
It was a gathering for something completely different. There is no anti-American sentiment in Greenland.
It's interesting.
Denmark has treated them like trash since they took them over, and they want a chance to be like American citizens and have some freedom and be able to do what they want. Instead of having the Denmark take all of their wealth and leave them like the ghetto.
Yeah,
and not protect them because the Russians and the Chinese have been docking warships along Greenland's coast, and Greenland can't do anything about it.
Interesting. Damn it, I can't find this picture. Anyway, the meme was there's a picture of Trump handing out $100,000 to every Greenlander, and the second guy in line is Zelensky. So that was pretty good, but we're not going to get there. All right, they have been badly mistreated. So I guess what I would ask is, before we get out of here on this question is, do we see anything going on with Greenland? What do you think about this week or the next 10 days, Blake, month? Do you think this gets done sooner rather than later? I don't see where the Europeans have a lot of legs to stand on here.
Right, especially not Denmark. It's a tiny country. I don't know how they can possibly manage it from over there. It's just kind of this big unoccupied thing, and it's might as well be utilized by other people if it's not getting enough. There's a lot of stuff there that's just been sitting there because we don't really care. Nobody seems to care. It does have a strategic value in addition to its resources, and we're protecting it anyway. So this is going to be an interesting to see, Trump and Davos and, wheeling and dealing. So I think this is time to make a move. And if the people in Greenland vote to be a part of the United States, then we should honor their wishes. I think something could be done. So, yeah, I do expect him to be making a major push. He wants Greenland, and he's going to get it somewhere.
I'm sorry, I should have put that in better context. Yeah. Apparently, Trump is taking a very large delegation to Davos with the sole purpose of negotiating the final pullout of maybe pullout of NATO, but the pullout of Greenland, the deal with Greenland, and basically telling everybody, we're going to go after you. And it's really interesting because there's this video. First of all, Macron today, who's a big giant pussy, Macron tried to fight Trump and make some statements about him. But Secretary of Commerce Lutnick went to the World Economic Forum today, and he made this interesting statement to the people assembled there, to all of the commie globalists there.
Come on, Internet. Come on.
I think Mike froze.
Oh. There we go.
Globalization has failed the West and the United States of America. It's a failed policy. It is what the WEF has stood for, which is export, offshore, far shore, find the cheapest labor in the world, and the world is a better place for it. The fact is, it has left America behind. It has left the American workers behind. And what we are here to say is that America First is a different model, one that we encourage other countries to consider, which is that our workers come first. We can have policies that impact our workers. Sovereignty is your borders. You're entitled to have borders. You shouldn't offshore your medicine. You shouldn't offshore your semiconductors. You shouldn't offshore your entire industrial base and have it be hollowed out beneath you. You should not be dependent for that which is fundamental to your sovereignty on any other nation. And if you're going to be dependent on someone, it darn well better be your best allies. Okay? And so that is a different way of thinking. It is completely different than the WEF. I viewed the WEF as not a flagpole in the middle, but in fact, they are the flag. Whichever way the wind blew, so it blew. You should have solar, you should have wind. Why are you going to do solar and wind? Why would Europe agree to be net zero in 2030 when they don't make a battery? They don't make a battery. So if they go 2030, they are deciding to be subservient to China, who makes the batteries.
Okay, some great points there. By the way, I did finally find the meme I was looking for. There's Trump handing out the $100,000 checks, and the second guy in line is Zelensky. Okay, Brooks, interesting points being made by the Secretary of Commerce there. Are we going to come out of Davos, do you think, with the framework of a deal to annex Greenland?
Yeah, I really do, because Trump's not doing this by video conference. He's going in person, and he's not going alone. He's taking 50 people with him, including delegates for what's called a Gaza board, which is going to cost anyone who wants to join that board is going to cost them $1 billion to be a member of that board to decide what happens with Gaza. But this is going to clearly be the Don Rowe doctrine at Davos. And they're going to hate it, but Venezuela and Greenland are both part of the Western Hemisphere. And Donald Trump, in no uncertain terms, and he's going to have everyone there with him, most of his cabinet and a lot of the actual people that are heads of these departments, like that secretary you were just looking at. This is our hemisphere. Stay the fuck out.
Okay. Steve, any thoughts on the globalization comments? I thought they were what I'd like to hear.
Well, any nation, I mean, unless you're just a poor third world country, any nation that gives up their sovereignty by not producing their own ammunition, not producing their own weapons, not producing things that maintain their infrastructure, they're fools. And so, you know, the United States is one of those fools because we let a lot of our infrastructure leave this country. So if we ever went to war, we'd have to retool to get it up and running. It should have never left this country. The basics should always be here. You know, if you want to buy a Toyota from Japan, a Toyota pickup truck, great. But if you want medicine, it should be manufactured here. You want bullets, it should be manufactured here. You want weapons for the military, it should be manufactured here. Nothing should come from out of the country. In order to maintain your sovereignty, he's 100% correct. You have to be able to supply your own needs, period.
Okay. Blake, any particular thoughts on this subject?
I mean, normally I wouldn't be in favor of some imperial takeover of a big continent like that, but I think it's a changing world. I think strategically it might make sense. I'm trying to be open to that, and if it's a win-win for people that live in Greenland, then I say do it.
I just have a question. Why would you call it an imperial takeover? I mean, it sounds like we're going in and with troops and we're kicking their ass and taking them over. That's not what's happening. This is a country that has suffered for years and years, and they're going to go in and basically make them part of the United States, like Puerto Rico.
You know, I think,
and if they don't want us there, I would pretty much assume, I'm just going to say that if they don't want us there, we wouldn't go there. We just go, okay, well, you're on your own. And if the Chinese stomp the shit out of you, then too bad. I mean, my take on this is all of these countries, England, Germany, all of them, where we have bases, I say pull out of there. Let them defend themselves. Let them defend themselves. Pull out of there. Go somewhere else. We have plenty of countries that are true allies that want us to represent them. The same thing with Greenland. Other than the recent crapola that was in the news, I've heard nothing but positive from the people of Greenland wanting a country to come in that is going to take care of them, that's going to, improve
Treat them
their
right,
quality
treat
of
them better.
life.
Yeah.
Treat them like human beings.
Brooks, the Prime Minister of Canada, who probably stole his election as well through Venezuela, has basically said we're going to make deals with the Chinese against the United States.
Yeah.
I don't see Greenland as a problem. Denmark has no claim to it, really not a legitimate claim. It's in North America. They're not Danes. They're Inuit. They have a lot more in common with people of Alaska than they do with the people of Denmark. And again, we simply make them an offer. They vote on it. Once they vote on it, we just tell everybody else to get out. But, this Carney guy is basically threatening to bring the Chinese communists onto North America, which, by the way, I've talked to my Canadian friend, the mechanic, my guy who's living in Canada. They are doing that. They have been importing Chinese military for years to get ready to invade the U.S. I think Canada is a bigger problem that we may have. There might be military action in Canada. I don't know that there's going to be any in Greenland. What are your thoughts about that process?
Well, it's not just Greenland. Trump has made it vocal that he also wants the northern territories of Canada. So he'll have both sides of both coasts of the Northwest Passage. So this is a very serious deal. Greenland is key to the Golden Dome. In order to make the Golden Dome work and protect the United States against missiles that come from China or from Russia, you have to have sovereign control of Greenland. Greenlanders will love it. I mean, they will love it. Right now, they're being taken advantage of by the Chinese, as are most people. And Steve is exactly right. We exported the control of our medicine, the control of our weaponry, our microchips, even our election counting is exported to places like Venezuela. And that's why we're so screwed up right now. We need to take control of all that back, at least those basic things to our core infrastructure and
keep
control
in mind,
them.
Yeah, and keep in mind, this was all done with deliberate policy to destroy the United States by people who are traitors to the United States. And I'm just following policy, and it's better for our companies if we do this. They're all traitors, and they all need to pay the price for being traitors. Yeah, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, share. You guys can super chat. We like getting a little bit of coin here, so I can buy these guys a gift card for Christmas or their birthday. But we need your Rumble brands.
Don't let him BS you. He drinks up any money that you send.
All right. I have one other thing I want to get to before we get out of here, and it involves today, and it involves a UFO case. But a couple days ago, it broke on the news that the Bank of England was told in the last week to prepare for a market crash if the United States announces the existence of alien life. And I'm not talking about microbes on Mars. I'm talking about intelligent creatures from another planet. Helen McCaw, who served, let me see if I can bring this up. No, I can't. Helen McCaw, who served as a senior analyst in financial security at the UK Central Bank, sounded the alarm. She has written to Andrew Bailey, the bank's governor, urging him to organize contingencies for the possibility that the White House may confirm we are not alone in the universe. And then this sort of tags on to the event today at the National Press Club by UFO documentarian James Fox, who is a nice man who means well, but he's not very bright. And he put out a documentary today and brought some witnesses to the National Press Club to talk about the so-called Varginha, the so-called Brazil's Roswell case, the Varginha, whatever it is, UFO alien case. Let's watch a little bit from that event today.
To be with you. So with that said, to not bury the lead, this conference addresses the existence of non-human biologics, defined as biological specimens or bodies of a technologically advanced non-human intelligence. The first-hand witnesses here with us today will describe their personal encounters with live, advanced non-human beings that were discovered in the immediate aftermath of a UFO crash outside Varginha, Brazil in 1996. What happened in Virginia is a part of a larger story, one that has accelerated dramatically here in the United States following the 2017 New York Times article that brought renewed attention to military encounters with unidentified aerial phenomenon, or UAP. Since then, Congress has held 4 open hearings on UAP, an unprecedented step, while the Department of Defense has released congressionally mandated reports from its UAP task force. Bipartisan legislation has established new oversight and reporting pathways, with additional measures still in development. Members of Congress are pressing for greater transparency and whistleblower protections, while highly credible intelligence and defense insiders, many testifying under oath, reported on deeply classified programs tasked with the recovery of crashed UAP and the preservation of biologics held within secret legacy programs. In light of this momentum, the public's right to know becomes central. Evidence that we are not alone should not be classified. Confirmation of the existence of life beyond Earth, I think we all agree, belongs to every human being. And with that, I'd like to introduce Kirk to help us understand, Kirk McConnell, to help us understand what's been happening behind the scenes, bring this ecosystem of secrecy under congressional oversight. We are honored to welcome Kirk McConnell.
Okay, so in this particular thing that they did today, they brought up a bunch of guys who are witnesses, they say, to an alien in Varginha, Brazil. Now, my friends over at the Y-Files did an episode on this particular case. Love you, Laura, thank you. On this particular case about a year and a half ago. And I just think we should watch a little bit about the Varginha case, because this guy's got news coverage. Fox has got him, and his so-called witnesses are on Newsmax and Newsnight and all the alternate networks, and they probably got covered on Fox and all this. But let's find out a little bit about what really happened in the Varginha case.
The Virginia UFO incident has been called the Brazilian Roswell. It's considered to be the most compelling case for UFOs and aliens in history. Or is it? The Virginia UFO incident became a world-famous case in 1996, and with the documentary Moment of Contact being released, it's once again on people's minds. But how much of the story is true? Well, this is a difficult case to prove and disprove. The fact is, there's not a single piece of physical evidence to support that any of this happened. The entire story is based on witness testimony that over the years has been less than consistent. You'll hear some documentaries say that the witnesses have no reason to lie because they haven't made any money for their story. That's not true. Quite a few witnesses have been compensated over the years. In fact, the Wall Street Journal reported that the girls who found the creature wouldn't give an interview for anything less than $200, something they later denied. About those girls, it's important to know that there was no Virginia UFO incident before the girls' story was made public. It was only after they were covered on a popular TV program that other witnesses came forward. And those witnesses described the aliens the same way the girls did. So the new witnesses either saw the same alien or they were lying and building on other stories they heard. There's no way to know for sure. But when the girls reported the creature, they never said it was an alien. There was no mention of a UFO. They thought the creature looked like a demon. At the time all this was happening, people in the area were obsessed with a cryptid called Chupacabra, which was getting a lot of coverage. It was a local UFO researcher who proposed that what they saw was an alien. The official explanation is that the girls actually saw someone locals called Mudinho. Mudinho means little mute. His real name is Luis Antonio de Paula. He was a mentally and physically disabled man who would spend hours crouching and looking at small objects on the ground. He lived where the girls saw the alien. In fact, he still lives there. He doesn't live near the location, he lives at the location. The day they saw him, there was a major storm passing through the area. So much rain fell that some parts of the town were flooded. It could be that Mudinho was covered in mud, which was known to happen, and he scared the girls. Now, the girls say that it couldn't have been Mudinho because they know him and wouldn't mistake him for an alien. But in the original report, they said they didn't know him. And when they first saw him, they thought he looked like a demon. They said the same thing about the alien. They may or may not be lying intentionally, but one of their versions of the story is wrong. And this isn't surprising. It's a 26-year-old case. Witness reports are all over the place. This was a huge story in 1996. It made international news. People's memories change over time. If you read an interesting detail about this case, you may even unknowingly.
Okay, I'm gonna stop there because it goes on. Actually, this is 2 years ago and 3.3 million views. But here's the point. Once again, the alien agenda comes forward. Once again, it's being presented by James Fox, who I like the guy. I don't want to get into a fight with him. He had a previous documentary where he talked about the Calvine UFO photo. I pointed into my video and said I completely debunked it. It's the tip of a mountain sticking through a fog bank, which I can prove 1,000 times over. So once again, we have somebody who's just not that bright, pushing the UFO agenda. It's being picked up by all the networks. The interesting political question here that I want to talk about, and we'll start with you, Brooks, because you look anxious. I want to talk about is why are they pushing? I mean, all you have to do is watch the Y-Files episode, and the Varginha case is just this little guy who probably got wet and muddy and scared a bunch of 12-year-old girls. At the time, they were like 12 years old, and they thought he was a demon, and then the demon became an alien, and then everybody figured out how they could make money in Varginha on it. Brooks, why? I want to hear your take, and then the question I want to ask you to answer at the end is, why are they pushing these people in the UFO thing that have no credibility like Fox? Why are they doing this?
No, that's the most important question. I mean, I remember back in 2001, the National Press Club dinner with Stephen Greer absolutely shocked the world. Probably had 30 different witnesses stand up and swear that they would testify before Congress that what they said was true. Nothing happened after that. For years and years and years, people pressed that, and nothing happened. No more investigations. Not until Nancy Mace began having her hearings. I praise her for having them, but the people that she brought forward to the hearings didn't know what they were talking about. They were just fed her a bunch of crap. But the most important question is, why now? Why is it being brought forth now? Because the banks are almost broke. You saw what silver has done in the last month. Well, all the short traders, these are people that are betting that the price of silver is going to go down. That's why the price of silver was suppressed for so many years, is so the short traders could survive. And these are big ones like Morgan Stanley, which has the largest silver vault in the world. Long and short on silver at the same time. Well, all those guys went broke. Silver's close to $100 an ounce right now. All the short traders went broke. Yep. So right now, the banks are in very big trouble, and they need something so disruptive that it will cause a reason for the banks to fail, so that the banks can step in and save the world. That's why they're doing it right now.
And Al Bundy, I want to address this. There's a soldier that died. Supposedly he was exposed to the alien and he died at the hospital. His sister, in fact, AJ covers that later. In fact, his sister said before the alien story ever took root that her brother, the soldier, he had an infected cyst on his elbow. The infection spread and he died from that. So that was natural causes. He didn't die from any exposure to the alien. You're right. So you think a distraction from the monetary crash that's about to happen, which I keep telling my audience on my other shows, I don't see how we still have a financial system right now, the way things are going.
It has to reevaluate. It has to reevaluate. Now, a lot of people are going to come out winners. There are going to be a lot of losers in this. But these people that have been banking on a revaluation of obscure currencies are going to make out pretty well.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that because I'd like to be one of those people. Blake, because I want to save the punchline for Steve. So, Blake, I just want to ask you, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, I'm kind of asking you to take my word for it that James Fox doesn't know what he's talking about. And he presents all these witnesses. Well, it's just like the Rendlesham case and the Roswell case. Oh, new witness in the Roswell case. My grandfather's brother's sister's uncle saw the alien bodies at Roswell 54, 65, 75, 80 years ago. Eyewitness testimony is just not credible, especially when there's money involved, is it? And what do you think is the agenda?
No, I mean I do follow UFO stuff, but I'm not familiar with that case, and it is odd that they would come out with something that's it's
Well, watch
30
the
years
episode.
old.
It's an excellent episode because it's really good, but in the end, it ends up not being much. But go ahead.
Well, yeah, that's it's curious why they would bring that up in Congress. Then it'd be interesting if it was like something like a recent, like a first contact. We have something juicy, something new, and now they're really going to release something to the public. But yeah, it just feels like they're just setting people up for another nothing burger to just credit all the UFO stories and all the researchers with it. So yeah, but they're going to go with this narrative. It looks like going forward. I know Spielberg's got a big movie coming out. Disclosures on the horizon. Perhaps it would be a distraction from the financial system. I think it would be like actually a good thing to happen. Maybe that's the one thing that could actually unify people of this planet to come together. And either way, the currents, our whole system is just built on nonsense anyway.
Yeah, that's what Reagan always said.
Galactic community will get rid of all this stupid fiat system and start working towards something important. But until then, yeah, we'll see.
That's what Reagan always said. We would be so unified if we knew that there were aliens out there. By the way, I placed the link to the episode, the Varginha, Varginha, Varginha UFO crash, the Hawaii Files. It's on YouTube. Go watch it if you want to know about the case. It is an interesting case. It's one of those ones where AJ just strings you along. He tells you a whole story and it gets more and more and more intense. And then he says, well, but that's not really what happened. This is what happened. This is what happened. This is what happened. Steve, last call. I believe that the political agenda on aliens is being pushed and has been pushed since Trump came into office. Is being pushed by the media for one simple reason. This is an intelligence community psyop. And the purpose of it is to convince not just the American people, but the entire world of the alien, that the alien is superior to man. Because man is God's special creation. So they are attempting to drive a wedge through man's relationship with God by elevating the alien above God. They are trying to replace God with the alien. That's their agenda. That's a control agenda. That's what this is all about. And that's why they're trotting out these incompetent guys, well-meaning people like Greer, people like Fox, people like Corbell, people like Knapp. That's why they're promoting these people into these committees. And, again, the congressional committee, if any of you watch this, Mr. Burchett, Paulina Luna, anybody, you need me. You don't need Grush. You need me to straighten your brains out. But I believe that's the satanic agenda, which is to elevate the alien above God and to put them in between God and man as a way to minimize and enslave God's special creation, which is man and woman, but man. Am I wrong, Steve?
No. I mean, it's definitely a psyop. I think you're 100% correct in most of what you've said. The reason that they use people who don't have a whole lot of credibility is you can get them to lie and change their story and lie again and again and again and again. If you put anybody up there with credibility, they're not going to lie for you, right? They're going to tell what they know. They're going to outline things and say, oh, well, this isn't proven. This is, whatever. This is this way or this is that way. So what you got to do is you got to get people that, up there in front of the screen that you can manipulate. But this has been going on for years. It's kind of like an opera, they're building up to the crescendo. Then they want to terrify everybody. Like I said, I have credible information. The only alien encounters that have ever occurred, the persons involved have been terrified. There are no wonderful aliens coming to help and, hug you and sing Kumbaya. It's always been a terrifying event. So the fact that they're trying to make these aliens seem like they're your buddy and they're going to help you is total baloney.
Yeah.
Pleiadians. They're Pleiadians.
Yeah, they're the good aliens. I agree with that 100%. They're weaker than us. That's why they're here. They're trying to steal from us because they're weak. man is superior to the alien.
And I don't believe they're from outer space. I believe they're from here.
It's possible. It's possible they've been here for a while, but I think some of them are from outer space. One last thing I do want to say in defense of my sincere brethren in the UFO community, there are a few of them, is that they're not lying. They're just suckers and they're gullible, and they want to believe in this stuff so badly, and they want to be patted on the head by the New York Times and the Washington Post and the British Ministry of Defense for being right all along.
People are so suggestible.
Yep.
You can go out in the woods and see nothing and have a group of people with you and go, "Did you see that?" and get all excited and you start describing it, and they fall right in lockstep and they saw it and they start, mimicking everything you say and everything you do. And it happens not 90% of the time, 100% of the time.
Yeah.
People are very susceptible. So, just like these girls, their stories changed. They didn't know him. Then all of a sudden they knew him. Oh, it couldn't be him. And again, money and and people making suggestions to him to change.
Yeah. And again, eyewitness testimonies were listened. Deb nails it. The problem with the UFO community is that they want to believe so badly that they buy the hype and they don't want to admit they've been conned by grifters. That's it. All right, guys, not a lot to settle on there, but what I'm going to tell you is if this alien thing does happen, I don't know if I'll be able to get a chance to straighten people out, but what I will tell you is listen to what I'm saying. The alien is not superior to man. Man is superior. That's why they're here. That's why they're stealing from us, whether it's our DNA or our spirit or our connection to God. They're here to steal because they are weak and they are dying, and that's why they're here. And don't believe the bullshit. All right, that is going to wrap it up. Thank you for being here. Thanks to Dr. Brooks Agnew, TV's Blake Wally, and Steve Doran. I'll tell you one thing about this show. You get opinions. You get strong ones.
That's right.
Tell your friends, like, subscribe, spread it around.
Why do people watch it? I mean, if we're all going to agree on everything all the time, why bother to watch?
Exactly. All right. Thanks for being here. Peace out. I'll see you next Tuesday, at least as far as I know. I think I might be. No, I might not. I might be getting an MRI, but I'm planning to be here as of now for next Tuesday. I'll see you guys tomorrow on Real News Live with Mike and Jen, where we'll talk about silver and we'll talk about financial stuff and we'll talk about Brooks's awesome prediction. And Blake, thank you for being here. Get ready for that snowstorm and take care of yourself, okay? And take care of the girls too. All those girls, those single moms, they need love. They need love.
Absolutely.
So tell them they can all come to your place and hang out with you.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. The invitation's out.
All right. Thanks for being here. Love you guys. I'm gonna go eat some tacos. Have a great one. Bye-bye.